notions of right and wrong, our regard for one another, for education, diplomacy, politics, religion.
The world is now a global village. A global village. John?
Come on around. A book. It's all we used to have. There were no film projectors, no TV sets or radios. We got all our information from this. We were educated by it. We learned about each other from it. Think for a minute of how one reads. One sits alone. One's eye scans a line at a time. The author's ideas come to you one at a time off the page. It's a private experience. We learned about each other from it. You do this alone. The electronic media haven't wiped out the book. It's read and used and wanted, perhaps more than ever. But the role of the book has changed. It's no longer alone. It no longer has sole charge of our outlook nor our sensibilities. Of course, the trouble is we act as though we were still solely in the age of the book. Our notions of right and wrong, our regard for one another, for education, diplomacy, politics, religion, all belong to the literary man.
Is it right to have the right to write? In prehistory they didn't. How'd we go from walls and caves to Egyptian graves to print and beyond print?
Doesn't much matter what you say on the telephone. The telephone as a service is a huge environment, and the environment affects everybody. What you say on the telephone affects very few. And the same with radio or any other medium. What you print is nothing compared to the effect of the printed word. The printed word sets up a paradigm, a structure of awareness which affects everybody in very, very drastic ways, and it doesn't very much matter what you print as long as you go on with that form of activity.
Beginning.
Yes, we're retribalizing. Involuntarily, we're getting rid of individualism. We're in a process of making a tribe. For just as books and their private point of view are being replaced by the new media, so the concepts which underlie our actions, our social life, are changing. We are no longer so concerned with self-definition, with finding our own individual way. We're more concerned with what the group knows, of feeling as it does, of acting with it, not apart from it.
Look, let's back up just a bit, Marshall. No. If more books are being used, more being sold, the libraries are crowded, they're busy, how can it be said, aside from what else may be happening, that we're moving out of a print culture?
As John said, books are still very important, but their role is changing. The nature of their importance is changing. Remember that books were our first teaching machine, and during the Renaissance, our only teaching machine. Books are what gave the Renaissance its peculiar stamp. We had to see the world and each other's through the printed line on the page.
For example, the word read, to read, means to guess. Look it up in the big dictionary. The word redan means to guess, and reading is actually an activity of rapid guessing, because any word has so many meanings, including the word reading, many, many meanings, that to select one in a context of other words requires very rapid guessing. That's why a good reader tends to be a very quick decision maker.
Then the Greeks added letters, and even better, they started putting it all in libraries.
Because he has to make decisions very fast while reading. And so the very nature of reading calls for quick decisions and guessing. And that's what the word means, to guess.
The Romans took those scrolls and bound them with some holes to make books which are more accessible on shelves. But writing stayed prestigious, mostly just for the religious, and monks and churches kept knowledge for themselves.
Any painter, any artist, any musician sets out to create an effect. He sets a trap to catch somebody's attention.
But outside the church, writing started spreading because it was better than forgetting, as we learned more about traveling, surgery, and plants. Then the Canterbury Tales began to make a lot of sales, but making copies was sloppy, and it was hard to meet demand.
Now, Mr. Shakespeare wrote plays that were considered very vulgar and popular entertainment in his own day. And nobody had any criteria for measuring his greatness at that time. He was a popular artist. And TV is a popular folk art. And that is, there is a huge technology involved in TV which surrounds you physically. And the effect of that huge service environment on you personally is vast. The effect of the program is incidental.
China invented printing with wooden blocks, parchment gave way to better paper stock, and through trade routes these technologies moved west. Then a guy named Gutenberg in Germany combined grid crushing with block technology and changed the world by inventing the printing press. Print let ideas spread with much greater acceleration, enabling the Protestant Reformation, the Scientific Revolution, the Renaissance, and Copernicus. In newspapers and pamphlets like Common Sense, people discussed democracy and governance, leading to revolutions and the importance of no censorship.
The alternative to violence is dialogue, which is a kind of encounter interface with other people and situations. But yes, we live in a world in which we have so much power. In the old days, you could pull a trigger on a revolver and hurt people. But today, when you trigger these vast media that we use, you are manipulating entire populations. And the kinds of violence that we can now exert collectively are such as to require the situation to cool, to write down, cool, cool, cool. And we have, by means of the overkill, we have created a kind of universal peace in the world. The means of destruction are so vast at our command that war becomes unthinkable. So, in the same way, people are cooled off by media and by situations which require dialogue rather than just self-expression. Violence is a kind of self-expression. I once asked my granddaughter, one of our granddaughters, who was then 6, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she said instantly, bionic woman. This is a kind of violence that permits one to discover who you are.
Well, as somebody once said, children now become gray at 3. They have acquired so much information about the world by the age of 3 that they're in a sense senile. And this vast amount of data that they are fed daily by TV upsets their attention span, for example. One of the effects of TV is to shorten the amount of time that people can pay attention to anything.
While poems and stories once entertained live, at home literature got more cerebral and private, experimental, psychological, modernist. And now with the internet, writing's even more widespread yet. Anybody can publish worldwide, for better or for worse. Now it's anybody's guess as to what will happen next, and what effect it will have on our ways of thinking and ways of acting. I kind of doubt that will stay on, big rhyming handmade things made with crayons, but who knows, anything can happen.
And so young people today in America, for example, have very, very short attention span. They have to change the subject or whatever they're talking about very quickly. There's a new kind of humor that exists in America called the one-liner. We used to have jokes, stories, but no more, only one-liners now, and there isn't time to tell jokes in America. And nobody would be listening at the end of the joke.
Then everybody smokes crack in PCP and they march on City Hall where they burn the mayor at the stake, strangle his wife, and take turns sodomizing the statue of Larry Flint.
These forms, like press, radio, television, since these forms represent really huge extensions of our own bodies and our own nervous systems, we need a kind of ecology or equilibrium or balance among all these services. Otherwise, we get hopelessly lopsided. And what's wrong with television is the kind of effect it has on people's nervous systems. And it's not the program that is unsettling or dangerous. It is simply the complete disruption of the human nervous system by this potent drug.
You think there should actually be controls on the amount of television people can see, not exactly what they see?
And the amount that is in relation to other media like radio and press and telephone as far as that goes. But there needs to be a kind of interplay among all of the media, just as we are looking for a balance in the environment. The media are themselves a very large part of the environment. And they need to be regulated according to their kinds of effects they have on people. And their programs are very, very incidental. It doesn't much matter what shows you put on. It's the medium itself that has the big impact.
We think there could be a case then for decreasing the amount of television transmission time?
In relation to other media, like print and radio and so on, there should be a balance. diet, yes.
You've said a lot about the effect of television on children. Just what children are getting the information from television. Is there a case for them still to go to school?
The school represents a kind of organizing of interests and activities that needs an ecological balance too with the other media. The extracurricular activities of TV and radio have become so vast that I think they overbalance the school altogether. The classroom becomes a real problem, and the city itself outside the classroom now has all the answers, and the classroom no longer has anything comparable to the answers that are outside the classroom. Ivan Illich did a book about this called Deschooling, in which he argued that we should close the schools now because they're obsolete.